Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. My name is Tyler Fornes, and I don't know if you know this, but women are Fred's favorite guys. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh my gosh, that music video came out.
Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you got to check it out. I can't remember the name of it.
I'm pulling it up.
It reminds me of every good and bad like techno song from the late 90s, early 2000s, like that the Euro like techno pop phase, and it's just phenomenal.
Planet of the Bass.
It's so good. So good. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Just making it, trying to keep my head above water, which this Dynamite did not, brother.
No, it did not. But you know what is keeping your head above water? You did something special this past week.
Yeah, there is. We have a new Hungee cat. Mavis has joined the clan, and she's a little bundle of delight that also will not stop meowing. So I'm only mildly surprised she's not around right now to try to add to the show. She probably will make a run in at some point and do that. But yeah, so yeah, she's pretty great.
That's awesome. I'm very happy for you and Nicole. And if you can hear in the background, I have both dogs sitting next to me playing, which is a wonderful sight, as we have now had Eclair for 1 month as of this recording. She's starting to run. She's starting to be really vocal, and it's wonderful to see how much she's changed and gotten happier over the past month. So, but we have to talk about this fucking atrocious company right now. And let's start with the man himself, Cookie Monster Punk. And oh boy, Fred, is there a lot to talk about. He is back on his bullshit.
Buddy, isn't he?
There's going to be multiple people reporting on this, okay? Fightful. Joe Lanza from the flagship Patreon. Nick Hausman from House of Wrestling.
Dave Meltzer.
Pro Wrestling Torch. Dave Meltzer. We're going to just credit everybody right now and try to piece people in as we know, 100% that they were the first ones, okay? This is from Fightful. Now, we're just going to go through this, and then we're going to bury the living crap out of this, all right? CM Punk and Jack Perry argued about Perry's desire to use actual glass in one of the Canadian Collision shows in an angle. Punk was against it and thought Perry was throwing a temper tantrum and also didn't want to have to work the next week, which Punk thinks is a huge problem in the company. This was before the AEW safety list was leaked. Brian Alvarez countered that and said he had heard that Punk had the next week off already and wanted to do the spot involving a car's windshield to be taken off TV. Let's stop here. Perry already had the week off. He wanted to write himself off TV by doing an angle with a car and a windshield.
Taking a windshield bump, right?
Who cares? God, Punk sucks. What are we doing? Okay, if you're part of the safety police and you want these guys to be extra safe, I don't know how to respectfully tell you this, so I'm just going to tell you. It's pro wrestling. Deal with it. Like, these guys already know the risks that they're putting their bodies through. They understand what glass shards can do. They understand what taking head drops and tombstones and pile drivers and DDTs can do to the compression in their neck. They already understand all these risks. If they want to do it, let them do it. It's their art form. This whole, I'm just not going to let you do it. Well, the only reason you don't let somebody do it is, they literally did a glass angle in the segment before. You don't want to double up that kind of stuff. So I can understand saying no. But if you want to be written off TV with a glass angle to help advance a storyline, I don't know. That sounds pretty dope to me, Fred.
I will say that I am slightly on the side of the safety brigade in the sense that I think glass is just really risky if it's not like a safety glass, kind of gimmick deal. So I will not.
But Fred.
Yeah,
Jack Perry is a grown adult who understands the risks and knows what he's getting into. This isn't like, let's say, head of talent relations Christopher Daniels pitching the idea to Jack Perry and Jack Perry saying no. This is the guy wanting to do it himself.
Yeah. Now the company, I feel like, is perfectly fair for them to say, look, man, let's not. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable policy to have.
Sure, if Tony Khan wants to say it, he's boss man. He is the head booker. He approves everything that goes on TV. Punk should shut his fucking mouth.
It is very odd, I will say, that Punk is the one making this call, but we'll see some more dick waving, from CM Punk in the not too distant future.
Oh my God, I'm gonna lose it in this segment. I've already gone off the rails.
Right? Yeah, you already have. So
yeah, I have, but I also got woken up at 6 a.m. because Eclair had to poop. So that's part of it. All right, let's go to more CM Punk weird stuff. Cut a weird post-collision promo about Adam Page. Called him a, quote, peg warmer, unquote. And if you've ever walked through the cereal aisle of your local grocery store, you see these little, you'll have, ping pong balls or other trinkets hanging from, it looks like a plastic strip. Well, that's what he's referring to. Those little pegs, stuff hangs on them. And he referred this because no one buys his toys and says he doesn't move merch in an attempt to do a worked promo. This comes after Page was supposed to report to the Greensboro Coliseum to come do a promo, but then as he arrives, he lives after doing Mike Spears of the Open the Voice Kid podcast, doing some research. He lives approximately an hour and a half from Greensboro, as he's built from Aarons Creek, Virginia. Mm-hmm. That means that he drove an hour and a half to basically be told, no, you're not going to do it at the Greensboro Coliseum, which, I don't know, sounds pretty shitty. So this follows up with more because Punk has apparently removed people from the building before. Ryan Nemeth has been removed from the building. Christopher Daniels, head of talent relations, Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy have all been sent off from Collision in prior weeks for different reasons. The reason why Christopher Daniels, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy have been sent off is because Punk didn't want them causing drama. You know why? Because they're friends with the Bucks. Brandon Cutler isn't expected to be on any of these shows either. This is all so stupid.
It's really dumb. Sean Sedor mentioned earlier in the writer Slack that also Meltzer on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio mentioned that they were doing Ring of Honor matches after Dynamite. Ryan Nemeth, Christopher Daniels, Cole Cabana, and Brandon Cutler all taped matches on there. That's kind of interesting because Ring of Honor usually gets taped before or after Collision. So,
yeah, look, the whole thing stinks, and Odie is trying to literally bite Eclair's cheek, and it's driving me nuts.
you need to let me take it for a couple of seconds so you can handle it.
No,
Right, cool.
I've got it. I mean, that's just how they play. He kind of bites her cheek a little bit. It's fine.
That's a treat.
It's just one of those things. So when I kind of look at all this, Punk is a little baby back bitch. He's just a baby, Fred. You are a fucking adult in a professional company. I don't care if it's wrestling. Look, we know wrestling has its own unique environments and its own challenges. You have to work with these people. Get over it.
Yeah. All right, here's my takes on it in general. First of all, the thing that is clearly the most insane thing to come out of this is the report that Christopher Daniels was sent home from a prior collision by CM Punk, specifically under the theory that, well, if Ace Steel can't be at Collision, then why should Christopher Daniels be allowed to be there? He was also involved in the incident, which kind of completely disregards the fact that Ace Steel was in there having himself a Kenny Omega burger, while Christopher Daniels was trying to break up the fight by all reports. So, and not biting people. So, it's just really kind of an absurd bit of reasoning there. And I think the most egregious, considering Christopher Daniels is the head of talent relations for AEW. And the idea that CM Punk is just, stepping up and saying, we can't let him in here because he's, I don't like him. That's wild. That is truly one of the wildest things I've ever heard. And just can't be, I can't justify that. I don't think there's any real reasonable way to justify that. Okay, let's get to the Ryan Nemeth thing. So Ryan was sent home from the Greensboro collision because Ryan Nemeth tweeted literally the softest man alive after Punk's return promo on the debut collision. Now, I think that was, if not literally what John Moxley said in that promo after CM Punk got injured / freaked out and all out last year. It was kind of like a summation of some parts of the John Moxley promo. So CM Punk thought that he was sucking up to the Young Bucks, and obviously Nemeth is close with the Young Bucks. If you watch Being the Elite, he's got 5-minute segments on there every week. But he, for CM Punk wanting to avoid drama, he reportedly confronted Ryan Nemeth face-to-face at the one single Dynamite that CM Punk was at, and reports vary, but may or may not have challenged him to a fight that night. It seems, it's very on brand for CM Punk to be bothered by a months old, a tweet that is 2 months old at this point, or whatever it is, to the point that he would, I guess at that point it would have been one month, maybe 3 weeks, that he would hunt someone down to confront them, specifically low man on the totem pole, Ryan Nemeth. So that's all very bizarre. Report that Matt Hardy was sent home, as well as Isaiah Cassidy. Now, the Isaiah Cassidy thing has been pointed out as happening basically because Isaiah Cassidy was there because of Matt Hardy, and just sounds like he was secondary to the Hardy trip home. But yeah, I mean, we have all of this stuff going on. And of course, CM Punk got, what really led to Brawl Out was CM Punk getting extremely upset by a work shoot promo that Adam Page was trying to do. back in the build for their world title match and upsetting CM Punk. That was a major factor. But, now we have an off-air CM Punk promo that's trying to shoot his own angle, like he's a luchador, like he's Roosh, trying to work AAA and CMLL against each other or something. Saying that, using insider shoot terms on Adam Page, which is essentially the exact same thing that got him all upset about Adam Page in the first place. So you've got that. Now CM Punk did apparently reach out to Adam Page basically as soon as the promo was over and apologized. So there's that. But there's also the report that, CM Punk denies that he had Adam Page sent home and actually said that if he would have shown up, he would have tried to have worked an angle with him. Disregarding the fact that, so far it assumes and seems to be that the elite in general, including Page, don't really want to work with him because he's, brawl out happened.
Don't forget about Okada.
What about Okada? I'm sorry.
Don't forget about Okada probably not wanting to work a program with him either because he said, well, I'm really good. He said this in an interview when asked about it. Well, I'm really good friends with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's just another factor. But holy hell, this is just the dumbest stuff I can think of right now. Before Dynamite last night, I was trying to dig all this up, and I apologize if I missed anything. I think I did my best to find all the different stories and summarize them all and everything. But this is just so stupid. And I'm saying this on a podcast where you and I get together every week and talk for 1 to 2 hours about professional wrestling. And I'm saying this may be the stupidest thing we've ever had to talk about on a show about people pretending to fight in their underwear.
And imagine how much stupid Punk stuff we've already talked about. Because before he returned, we would literally make fun of the fact that we had to talk about CM Punk again. And again.
Oh, now, that was as frustrating as that was. I may have been even more frustrated last night when I was putting these stupid notes together. I was just like, what am I doing with my life?
Let's pull our listeners behind the curtain here for a second. I did not watch Dynamite live as I don't when my wife is home at the beginning of the show. I watched the West Coast feed on the TBS app. And I said when you sent me the notes, I said FYI and haven't watched Dynamite yet. And you're like, dude, have fun. LOL. And oh boy. But
yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I did screen cap you saying that and posted it in the main channel of the writer Slack, and I said photos taken moments before disaster. I don't know if you saw that, but
I did. That was phenomenal. I do have to point this out because you did not mention it during all your chats. Tony Khan is probably the biggest linchpin in all of this.
Oh, of course.
After Punk's return, he's at Gorilla. And he chanted CM Punk. Look, this is a problem.
Okay. I will defend that. That seems extremely Tony Khan-ish to try to hype, like his way, very nerdy way of trying to hype up his guys as they're coming in or back from camera. That's didn't bother me at all. That part of the recording I thought was a total non-story.
I think it is a story. And let me explain why I believe it's a story, Fred, because it's not as simple as a one-off. It's not as simple as, hey, this person did this, and that's what this means. The reason why I think this is a story is because he's already been known to not have a backbone. And I don't necessarily know if that's the right verbiage to use, but he hasn't. He's been doing a lot of things that haven't really been proactive in helping his company. And he allowed Brawl Out to happen. He did nothing to stop it. And now
he was in a presser while it was happening. I don't think you can really blame him for that. And also, what's Tony Khan going to do? Rip his shirt off and start shooting? I mean,
you could be like, hey, all right, that's
the aftermath is a different thing.
Like there have been a lot of struggles on his end to control talent. And I think him acting like that can be a good thing, but I think it's also an ingredient to a bigger picture problem, which is Tony Khan just does not have enough control as a boss over the locker room and what happens within the walls of his company.
Yeah.
It's a symptom. It's not the problem. It's part of a bigger picture. And you see, Claire? She agrees.
I would say that we have officially reached too many cooks in the kitchen stage for AEW. Because, one presumes that like all the big stars get input on their angles, which that makes sense to some extent, right? But like, depending how much control MJF has over his promos and how bad these pre-tapes are, which I don't know if that puts me in the minority, but some of these are just really stinky, truly awful segments. We've got CM Punk sending people home from tapings, possibly unilaterally. It's hard to say. It's all this stupid stuff. And I feel like, we've got all these people coming in that are being brought in to contribute backstage, former WWE guys and everything. And Dynamite production, like in terms of camera shots, has really, I think, gotten worse in the past year. Like, it's really bad at points. We have also got, just really, we talked about, we've talked before about how they have a quality control issue where someone will do an angle and then right away someone else will do the same basic angle like of a segment or two later. And last night we had two segments that ended with someone teasing to hit their finisher on another face, and then deciding not to before doing like a stare down. And we had two segments that ended with people left in pools of their own blood last night. And, like the latter is a pretty basic thing. Someone gets beat down, I guess. I can't really complain about that too much, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like for adding all these people backstage, things aren't improving. They're getting worse. And, Joe Lanza's talked about hearing people refer to this Adam Cole MJF thing as AEW's bloodline, and obviously it's working. It's a very successful angle in general, but you can't tell me that it wouldn't be as successful if we just dropped the pre-tape thing starting before last week's show, so that we didn't have the last week angle or this one. And I thought this one was the worst of the bunch, just incredibly dorky. And at the same time, we're basically at the point where MJF is like Attitude Era Rock. He can get the crowd to chant kangaroo kick. I mean, the guy is dealing, he's either dealing himself or, someone's dealing him these turds, and he's turning around and making chicken salad out of chicken shit. So I don't know, man. It's it's very funny. We have this absolutely massive wrestling show coming up with the All In and Wembley and everything. And that's a massive success. And now we've, like the vibe I have right now coming out of last night's Dynamite is a really kind of depressed one. Because that show was rough. It was not good, and just a real bummer of a show, I thought. But we still got some other news to get to first before we really dive into that.
We do have some other news before we bury the living shit out of this company. Fred, Lufisto.
Okay, listen. You can make me write up the CM Punk drama. That's fine. I will do that. I'm not writing up this Lufisto shit. I'm not going back to try to research what the hell happened because I wasn't paying attention. She said some shit about how people were meeting in the AEW locker room, and then everyone in the world tweeted back at her. And now she's just fake tweeting in ways that don't even really make too much sense. I do not care about the story. I cannot possibly care about the story. I will never care about the story.
Yeah. So basic gist of it, She tweeted that the women's locker room was kind of cancerous. Like, this is generalizations because we're not going to get into it because it's so dumb. The entire locker room told her she was wrong and dumb and buried her under the sun. And apparently she worked like a couple dark tapings. So outside, like, it feels like she's just really bitter that she didn't get a contract. That's kind of the tone of the tweeting. And then all of a sudden appears back on social media, tweeting a picture with CM Punk and basically claiming CM Punk is right. And you guys are all mean to him. Maybe you should just get off social media.
I cannot care about any of this nonsense. It's so dumb. I'm done. I'm done with this story. It's just absolutely nothing. Until something actually happens, involving someone under the company. But I just refuse. I'm done, man. You go ahead, talk about it. I ain't going out. I'm done.
No, that's honestly it. Like, there's really nothing else to talk about. It feels like, and you know what? We've been wrong before. We could be wrong again. But it really feels like she's just bitter that she doesn't have a contract and she's just kind of going after the company.
It's easy to see it that way. I don't know what exactly precipitated it and everything. It's, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is. Let's go to the next piece of news. We talked about injuries last week, and more specifically Thunder Rosa. She was scheduled to do a 5-minute match at the 812 Collision. I wonder how much of that would have been a squash versus maybe a continuous write-off. But she didn't end up making it. And yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if and when she comes back, because she's been dealing with this back injury for the better part of a year now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully she is able to recover and bounce back well.
Yeah. Yep. And then next up, you'll see this in about 8 months, but Jon Moxley worked PWG's Mystery Vortex show against Titus Alexander. It didn't even look like he had ring gear. It looked like he was wearing suit pants.
Yeah,
which is just peak Jon Moxley. Other AEW talents: Konosuke Takeshita, Roderick Strong, Evil Uno, who is a PWG lifer at this point. Ray Phoenix and Daniel Garcia also worked the show. So,
yep. It'd probably be a pretty good one when it comes out. Like you said, probably around November, and I may get to watch it in next March.
Yeah. All right, this is where things get interesting. Executive Vice President Matt Jackson said on Swerve Strickland's podcast that he wishes wrestling had a union. What's really ironic about this is, being that he's an executive in the company, he can't be in the union.
Right.
So,
he can't really help with it.
But he's right that there should be a union for these guys and girls. But it's just very interesting that he's saying this as an executive.
Yeah, I was interesting. He's right. I mean, obviously it would be, I think, good for everyone involved if there was unionization in professional wrestling, but frankly, that's never going to happen. So I just wouldn't, hold my breath for that to happen at any point in the near future. But yeah, it was very interesting that he was the one to say that. I wonder if he got pulled aside afterwards at some point and was like, "Hey, buddy, Tony Khan here. Please don't say that about the company I pay money on." Because obviously, it financially benefits him to not have that happen.
Oh, it absolutely does. It's just very interesting that he picked now to really speak up about it, especially because he just signed a new contract, and based on everything we know, he still has an executive vice president title in his contract.
One presumes.
Mm-hmm. So that's worth noting. Let's continue on here. More injury stuff. Brian Cage missed Real Triple Mania because of injury. He was in the ER on August 13th, and Hijo del Vikingo is off of this weekend's GCW homecoming shows as he is injured. No word as of yet, unless you have something, Fred, as what the injury is.
I have heard nothing specific about either one. Brian Cage did say that he did not expect to be out very long. So there's that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know how long either will be out.
Yeah, it's hopefully that nobody's out for a long time. Let's continue on here. TSM Plus is where you stream AEW in Canada, and it used to be free. Now it is $8 a month or $80 a year. And let's be honest, that's just the standard price of a streaming service, so that shouldn't be a surprise. Obviously, probably frustrating to Canadian fans who didn't have to pay for it, but now have to. It's the cost of television these days.
Yeah, that's the deal. Not much else to say there. Go ahead,
Fred. I have an on-air question for you that I just need you to pick a name. Okay. I am doing a college football fantasy draft.
Oh,
because
God.
I am a true sicko. I'm in like 8 leagues. It's great. I love college fantasy football. I have the 5th pick, and I'm going to take a wide receiver.
Okay.
I need Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malachi Corley. I need you to pick one for me.
I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was supposed to be like maybe the best wideout in college football right now.
Yes, but fantasy can be different. And
Sure, yeah.
I will say Malachi Corley's from Western Kentucky. So
Okay.
those are my 2 options of what I'm looking at. What would you do based on your extensive knowledge of the sport?
I would Google who the Western Kentucky guy was. And I don't know. I would go with probably the guy that had the most opportunities. Is usually, I mean, obviously the higher ceiling guys would be ranked higher. But if Marvin Harrison's only get like 5 targets a game, then that's a different issue.
They're ranked basically the same. Marvin Harrison Jr. is projected to get 271 points and Corley 267.5.
Do you get credit for the playoff?
No,
Or is it
it's
just
regular
just
season only.
What about there's a Conference USA championship game too, so that's not an advantage.
Regular season only, so technically that's playoff.
Okay, cool. Man, is either quarterback going to put up a lot of stats? Because you doing this bit, I don't know much about either situation.
Well, Malachi Corley's quarterback went 2nd overall.
Okay, that's a good sign. Yeah, maybe go with him. He would be playing against what assumes weaker defenses. So
there we go. We have Malachi Corley selected, and I am ready.
Sorry about your impending, winless season. After my advice. Meltzer's final Forbidden Door TV buys were down 1% from last year, though he doesn't have the numbers from Japan. But overall, he does think that it was up this year, 147,000 buys versus last year's 141. Cool.
Hell yeah. That's a win.
Yep.
All right, Fred. I'm going to blitz through this. Dustin Rhodes was in Maui on vacation when the fire started. He said he was 2 miles away. Luckily, he and his wife are fine. And
awful situation.
My sister-in-law's husband is from Hawaii. He is a natural-born Hawaiian, and it's been really hard on everybody. And he's not from Maui, but that doesn't matter. It's just brutal what's happening out there. And
yeah, awful incident.
I've already donated a little bit to the cause, and I know AEW's show last night, they renamed Fight for the Fallen, and they gave every penny made from the show to the cause, including the sponsorship of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Death Match. So, and we're going to talk about that because there's a very intriguing element to this whole discussion. But really cool gesture by AEW. They have never had an issue being philanthropic throughout their entire history, and it's really cool that they're continuing that as they continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about this. Fred, you had a tremendous article come out earlier this week about Wikipedia and attendance drama. So the basis of this is because AEW's All In is about to break the attendance record of professional wrestling, some people have gotten real petty and have gone in and modified the top attendances in the history of professional wrestling to include multi-day events. What else did you find?
Well, it was, launched pretty quickly, and then it lasted for about the 24 hours before I wrote that article. And what someone had done is they decided that to, whatever. I can't really ascribe what their actual motivation was because they didn't declare it. But at the same time, it's awful sussy that someone decided, 2 weeks before All Out or All In to combine like the multi-day attendances for the WrestleManias that were 2 days and make it harder for All In to be ranked highly, and also doing all of that with kayfabe numbers that Vince McMahon himself has said are for entertainment purposes only. Now, look, attendance numbers are hard to get for professional wrestling. It's not easy at all. Because, again, WWE's attitude historically has been that they're entertainment and they like to put fake numbers up there so they can claim these ridiculous, records. What was very specifically suspicious about all this is, like some guy was just doing it with the WrestleMania numbers and was not combining, say, the multi-night New Japan Wrestle Kingdom numbers, which at least would have been consistent, if nonsensical. And they were left up for a while. And so I saw this going on and, thought it was all very ridiculous. I wrote an article summarizing the situation. Now, I will say that at this point in time on the list of professional wrestling attendance records page on Wikipedia, that it has been improved a lot. What someone has done, or what people have done, I think it's multiple people, they've actually divided the table into actual attendance and marketed attendance to differentiate between the two. They have numbers for both where available. Some of this stuff's going to be very difficult to find. Like there's a 1933 Jim Londos and Kola Kwariani match in Athens, Greece that they're like, the people say it was more than 80,000. But, reports, if you look at the note, it's like, reports go from 60,000 to 125,000. Stuff like that's going to happen, and even with WWE stuff, it can be hard to find the real numbers. There's probably some reporting in the Wrestling Observer or other outlets that you can go back to. But, they at least differentiate between the WrestleMania 3 93,000 Hulkamaniacs thing and what really happened, which was probably 78,000. So this is at least like actual true information, which fills the requirements of what Wikipedia is supposed to be there for. So at least I can, give them credit for all that.
Yeah. My favorite part of the whole drama was fans putting a Comic-Con on there that happened to have a match with Christopher Daniels versus Evil Uno.
Yeah, because someone put on there the SmackDown at the Rolling Loud a couple years ago that was in the parking lot, and they're like, well, some article said they anticipated 250,000 people there or whatever it was. And so someone got sassy in response and added the Uno Daniels match that was at the the video game convention or whatever it was, and it's all very funny. But both of those are fortunately removed now, so we can move on from that. But yeah, it's just so dumb in general.
Oh, it's 100% dumb, and you know what? I love it.
At least it seems to have been corrected at this point, or addressed. So that's a plus. at least they made it better.
Yes, they did make it better. And let's continue on here. All right. That's it for the news.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two ways we can go here, Fred.
Yeah.
Would you rather talk about Dynamite, or would you rather talk about where we're currently sitting for the All In build?
I think we got to talk about Dynamite, man, because that show was really notable in not a positive way.
Yeah. Floor is yours.
That I don't know if that was the worst episode of Dynamite I've ever seen. But that being said, I think it very well may have been my least favorite episode of Dynamite I've ever seen, and it might be the worst. And I've seen every episode since the first, I think. There was some decent stuff on here, so I can't call the entire thing like an absolute failure. There was too many successes to go all out and just completely bury the show. I thought the opener was a nice 3 3/4 star match. I thought the Darby Allin tag match was solid at 3.5. But on this show, we also had what I thought was easily the worst of the Adam Cole MJF pre-tapes, which I think are incredibly dorky in general. There have been a couple spots where I had a chuckle at a single moment, but in general, I thought they came off really embarrassing, to be honest. Just very low-brow, stupid stuff. And then this week, where they went to an Outback Steakhouse to understand Aussie Open, while Adam Cole made these stupid YouTube thumbnail faces, and MJF invented the kangaroo kick to take out the Australian team that they're facing. It's not good. It was not good at all. Then they wackily clotheslined the prop guy, whose name I can't remember, backstage into a swimming pool. And then we had Tony Khan, actual wrestling character, on AEW television for the first time. The ones where he makes announcements, those are different. Those don't count. But this is the first. We actually have him as a kayfabe character on AEW television. And that's something that I hoped would never happen, just because it would not add to the show. It would not be. We don't need a authority, figure of that sort. We don't need to recreate the Vince McMahon angles from back in the day. We just don't need to do this copy and paste stuff. And that was very disheartening to me to see that happen. Because we don't need that on the show. We don't need to recreate the stuff that was successful 25 years ago and has been unsuccessful ever since, but everyone relied on it. We just don't need Tony Khan as a character because it would be best served to have him separated from, being a character on creative so that he can handle creative fairly and not, not with any kind of impetus for him to put himself over or anything. I hope this was a one-off. And this isn't a quality thing. Objectively, I thought he did decent with his little bit there. I thought it was, in a vacuum, if I wasn't already pissed off, I probably would have found it kind of funny. But I'm concerned about the fact that was a thing they did, that they put him on the air as a guy, as a character. And then after that, we get an MJF Adam Cole in-ring promo, and their in-ring promos I like a lot. That was a very good set up the pay-per-view match promo. And then we got what I think, if it wasn't the worst match in AEW history, it's in like the top 3 with the Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy, Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. It wasn't funny. It wasn't like funny bad. It was just bad. It incessant, aimless brawling all over the place with a bunch of nonsense from other people running in, and with spooky lighting, and it stunk. It was awful. I went -1 star on it, which I think may be the first negative star rating I've ever given an AEW match. And I just absolutely hated it. And then we had to go from that to basically right away we went to a very average Britt Baker Bunny match. And then after a short acclaimed House of Black angle, we had the Young Bucks and the Guns. And like, I do think the Young Bucks are getting better in the ring. I thought that they looked a little better tonight, but that was still, if not the worst TV match that the Bucks have ever had. It's up there. It was just very boring. I mean, it was like 3.25 stars. I can't say it was like really boring. What I should say is that relative to other Young Bucks matches, where they're like easily up in the 4-star matches, up in the Notebook arena, this was a real disappointment. And it was all just incredibly frustrating after a pretty good first 45-ish minutes of the show.
So I'll say this. I work really hard. And I don't say that to brag or anything. I work 12 to 16 hours a day. And my work a lot of times is diving into my computer. Sometimes I take breaks. Like yesterday, I had found out a couple days ago that the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy is now on the Switch. I played a lot of that. And in between all my work, my audio responsibilities, my writing responsibilities, and by doing so, like it extends my workday a little bit, but I can take breaks sometimes, but I work really hard. And Dynamite is usually my time to unwind and relax. And it usually delivers because it's been a great television product for the better part of the last, I don't know, 4 years? Like, this show felt like a good episode of Raw. It just did not have the same energy. It did not have the same passion. And one thing that the narrative that was being driven home by some people last night was this show was all for charity. And we need to remember that all the money went to charity. Just because you're doing a show for charity doesn't mean you can't put on a good show. And I think that is what's being lost in this whole conversation. This was not a good show, Fred. This was borderline bad. I liked some aspects. The Orange Cassidy Wheeler Yuta match, honestly, for what they could deliver, was disappointing. And it doesn't mean it was bad. It could have been better. Could have been a lot better. And you have that. You have Eddie Kingston return, which I thought was really cool. And Excalibur.
That was a good segment.
Yeah, Excalibur really put over that he was in the G1 and he did all this stuff. But now let's get into this, because we're going to bury a lot of parts of the show. But there was a match made for All In. Lucha Brothers, Best Friends, and Eddie Kingston versus the Blackpool Combat Club and 3 of their friends. Any 3 they can find. In a Stadium Stampede match. Now, I highly doubt this is going to be cinematic, and it feels like an Anarchy in the Arena, but they're in a massive stadium, so they just named it that. Yeah. One, do you think this will work in the context of the crowd and their enjoyment? Because I have no doubt that they're going to make this good because it's AEW. They find a way to make everything good and stuff like this. And 2, who in the hell are going to be the partners for the Blackpool Combat Club? And let me throw out my guesses. Shooter, Jun Kasai, El Desperado.
That would be a hell of a trio. Now it would be very interesting for it to be a Shooter on account of him being like an ultra baby face in New Japan. But that hasn't mattered in AEW canon because he's already teamed with Jon Moxley multiple times. Yeah, I was actually getting to that, but yeah, I agree. Stop yelling at me. Yeah, it hasn't mattered. I just think it's kind of interesting. That's all. But yeah, I mean, I have all the faith in the world that this what I assume will be a pseudo Anarchy in the Arena match will be pretty damn fantastic. And we've got all this intrigue with who the mystery partners will be, but we also, I think it'll be a damn good match. I mean, we had the 10-man tag at a Forbidden Door that was, I thought, a 5-star match. We had Anarchy in the Arena this year, which I think I went 4 3/4 on. I fully believe that they'll pull this off. What I hope they don't do is a pre-tape. I think it would absolutely be the wrong thing to do to have a pre-tape match in an empty arena and show it to this crowd full of 90-ish, however many, 80,000-ish people. I haven't checked the numbers recently, and I'm forgetting. But like they absolutely can't do that. And if they do that, that'll, I will bury them to the other side of the earth for doing that. But assuming they don't make a really stupid decision, I think this could really rock.
I think it could be really, really good too. And they have done such a good job with these chaotic big matches where it doesn't matter. Like, I remember being live at Full Gear, and it was the Super Click, and I think they faced a trio from the Jericho Appreciation Society. I think that was the match, or maybe I'm misremembering who they were facing, but it was Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, and it was like a Falls Count Anywhere match, and they were brawling all throughout the arena. A lot of people didn't like it at home. It was fun as hell in the building because there was stuff going on everywhere. I was hard cam side about 20 rows up. You could see everything really well. I think that they're going to figure out a way to do this match to appease the live crowd and appease the television audience. They've done it before. I think they'll do it again. The 2 Anarchy and Arena matches, one of them, the 2022 match, was my match of the year. Sorry, it was my number 3 match of the year, and it was top 10 in the Voice of Wrestling Match of the Year poll. The only 2 matches I had above it were dog collar matches. And that tells you what kind of great year it was for the dog collar. Like, they have a history of doing a great job with these, and I think they're going to do it again. The whole and calling it Stadium Stampede, I think, is just like a placeholder term. It's not going to be what it was during the pandemic because they don't have to have it that way. They're going to do it just a chaotic brawl. You're going to see some crazy shit. Moxley's going to bleed buckets. Kingston's going to bleed buckets, and I hope he finds a gas can because that would be a phenomenal callback. And this is going to be insane, especially if somehow Tony Khan decides to pull Despy and Jun Kasai into this because they're like Moxley adjacent at this point. And one of the things that Moxley has said, especially with the Blackpool Combat Club, if you want to be with us, you got to bleed with us. Both of them have bled with him. He's got that trio of matches with El Desperado that have kind of become somewhat legendary.
They rolled.
They're phenomenal. And the tag match with Despy and Kasai, and then it was Moxley and Homicide. Personally, that could be my number 10 match of the year, like my vanity pick, because it was so much fun. It was so good. And Jun Kasai and AEW, like, that would be so much fun. Like, that, I think Shooter's going to be involved no matter what. I don't know who the other 2 are going to be, but I think it's noteworthy that they're going to have three people joining them. And I can't really think of anybody else who could be that guy unless you're going to get like Chris Hero and reunite the Kings of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Which that would fucking rule, by the way.
It would. That would be excellent. But yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. Now, Daniel Garcia, interestingly, vague tweeted about how he was available. I like Daniel Garcia a lot, so it'd be cool to see what became, of that if he got involved. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that match, and I think it's a great addition to the card, and also a smart way to bring in, a bunch of names to get on a match, or get a match on a show, I should say.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of my dogs might have peed next to me, so that's fun.
Hooray!
I'll have to clean that up later. Anyways, let's continue, because I think what's really important about the show is that they've continued to build for All Out. And let's jump, as you mentioned, Daniel Garcia. Let's talk about Chris Jericho. Jericho goes out and accepts Don Callis' proposal to join the Callis family. And Callis unveils a portrait of him holding on to Chris Jericho's head, thinking that he was going to tell him no. Now, all of a sudden, you have Jericho pissed off, like, what the hell, Callis? And he's like, well, I thought you were going to say no, so I was just prepared for it. Well, then you have Takeshita beat him up. And then as Jericho's starting to turn the tables, you have Will Ospreay, who has that loose affiliation with Don Callis from the build of Forbidden Door 2 and obviously Forbidden Door 2 as well. And there's rumors about an Ospreay versus Jericho match, and now we're going to get one. Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho at All In. I don't know about you. I'm thrilled about this idea in this match. And I thought it was interesting. I don't think this has been told before. It was supposed to be Ospreay versus Chris Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom 2021, but the pandemic ruined it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's been mentioned before.
Yeah, I had not heard that before, or if I had, it's been a while and I forgot. But I think that could be a very good match. I'm really intrigued because, Jericho is at the end of his career, largely, and his match quality is not what it was. And, we're coming off of the two Omega Ospreay matches, which were both absolutely amazing. So it's not going to be as good as that, obviously. And it's important to keep that in mind so we don't come in with ridiculous expectations and then, walk away all disappointed, because that'd be kind of silly. But all that's being said, I think this could be really cool. I like the segment. I like the way that it kind of highlighted how both Callis and Jericho have been dopes. Like they're both really kind of jerks in the kayfabe, and highlighted that a little bit. And, I like the through line of Sammy Guevara continuing to stand by his friend. I thought that was appropriate and well done. And, but yeah, I like this segment. And I like the setup that it did. Let's see. After that, I don't want to go through this segment by segment, but I will say that I love any time that Darby gets in the ring with the Gates of Agony. I think that's just a really fun combo. Him literally bouncing off of Toa Leona on the floor while doing a Lope. I do that spot every match because I love it. So I've already buried the MJF, Adam Cole stuff and the Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett match. Jeff Jarrett having a Leatherface belt was something for sure. Just a bizarre visual.
Having that Leatherface belt was extra funny because Leatherface actually chased off Karen Jarrett.
Yeah, he turned on him, but hey, Jeff still got that belt, man. He commissioned that, and he's going to hold on to that. And then I actually kind of like both the Young Bucks FTR angles and the acclaimed House of Black angles. I do think that if House of Black wants new gear, there's better ways of going about it than beating up other people and stealing theirs. I don't even know if those Billy Gunn boots will fit any of them. And they didn't even get to keep Andrade's mask, so it doesn't work out long term. You would have thought they would have learned their lesson. But yeah, kind of that's the entirety of my thoughts. I am glad that we did not get yet another acclaimed jobber match. It'd be cool if they wrestled other people good at wrestling, and longer than a squash format, since they kind of got squashed against Billy Gunn, or with Billy Gunn against them on Collision a couple weeks ago, which started this whole angle. Collision itself, I'm just going to put over the Ricky Starks promo. I thought that was really good. And also, there was a little Bullet Club Gold promo, And also, there was another good promo by Christian and Samoa Joe. So, good promo night. I need to go back to Dynamite real quick. What was with the camera angles and the shots selected, not just through the whole night, but specifically on that Kenny Omega gets beat up pre-tape? Like cutting in on Jim Ross looking all sad and stuff. Well, not even sad. He was just standing there like, ugh. Like that was that looked like a Tim Robinson or an Eric Andre bit.
It's
truly terrible decision making there by production.
It's honestly crazy how poor AEW production has been lately. And the Jim Ross shot, I think, was just to be like, I don't know, like this sounds kind of odd, but were they almost trying to capture a Jim Ross spot because he didn't know what to do, and like he can't really show expression on his face because he has Bell's palsy, and I'm wondering if they were trying to kind of elicit an interesting reaction from like a reaction shot from him just because of that uniqueness. Like maybe I'm looking too much into it, but the fact that they focused on him was very odd. Right?
Yeah. This whole thing was really weird to me. It was so weird. And you've got all these like jump cuts to like 5 seconds later in the beatdown. Like they're showing one part of it and then another one. I don't even know what to say, truth be told. It was just it was super weird. Speaking of super weird, Brock Anderson, man. Is he like Greg Gagne level of not having it from the super talented father? Because that Luchasaurus match on Collision was pretty darn bad. Not nearly as bad as like, the Jared Hardy one that I freaked out about or anything, but it was like well below average and almost entirely because of Brock. And I'm just wondering like if he ever makes TV again. And if he does, like it's almost certainly just because of who his father is.
I don't know if he's good or not, but I wonder if he was put on TV so early because they needed him because of the pandemic era. And if he wasn't necessarily supposed to be on TV yet, because it feels like he's got some of the core concepts down where, and this is where not having dark really hurts, because you could just give Brock Anderson a dark match every single week and just let him work and continue to grow and get better and better and better. I don't know where he's at or what he's going to be, but it feels like he was put out too early. Does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but also it's been 3 years now since the pandemic. Like at some point, and he's not old or anything. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that. He's 26. He's got, roads in front of him. He's been doing this for just 2 years. I can't say he's like actively bad or anything. But he is, I just don't see what he projects outwards as far as like positively. It doesn't seem like he's got charisma. It doesn't seem like he's got in-ring skills of any real note. And as far as just working, like unless he was injured, between a May 13th house show for AEW and last week's Collision, he worked a grand total of 1 match according to Cage Match. I mean, we've talked about this before, but one of the big weaknesses of AEW, having such a limited schedule is the young guys don't work very often, and it doesn't seem like they're going off to work the indies or anything with any regularity. So without that, I just don't know how he's supposed to get better.
I don't know either, and I think that's a really interesting angle here. 1 match on Cage Match. That's wild.
Well, between those 2 shows, but yeah, over like 3 months.
Jeez. Well, I guess that's interesting, but I don't know what to think of Brock Anderson. We don't have access.
I do,
it's not like NXT 2.0 where they have the people in the Performance Center performing on live television regularly. Like, we don't know what's going on at the Nightmare Factory, and there's just so many different elements to this. I don't know. I don't know. And we'll see. But let's continue on here, Fred. There's more to talk about. I want to talk about the finish to the MJF Adam Cole promo and the finish to Bucks and Guns, because they have one really cohesive theme. Adam Cole was about to super kick MJF. The Bucks were about to super kick FTR. And then they just had a good old-fashioned respectful stare down. The Bucks went heel a little bit in the finish to the Guns by cheating to get the win. But here's my thinking. I don't think they're going to be heels, but I think they're going to be heel leaning for this match, and I think that this was setting it up. Because I don't necessarily think you need to do this, but I think it's the path that they're going down. Because, look, you could just have the Bucks and FTR, two of the best tag teams of all time, going at each other. That's all you need. But it feels like that they're doing something a little different, where they're going to have FTR be the faces, when in reality, probably they should be the heel leaners, considering the association with CM Punk. But they get just mega reactions all the time. And I think that's what we're looking at here. Hey, Fred, tell me when I'm telling lies, baby. But I also thought it was interesting that they did that. And Adam Cole straight up looks MJF in the eye, and he basically plants the seed for the heel turn. I will do anything to win that belt.
Yeah. What I thought was, going back to the Bucks thing, I don't think that was a heel finish. I think that was them getting their revenge, which I think was a babyface aspect to the cheating. So that didn't strike me as them going heel. I don't know who will work heel in that match, and I kind of wonder if they're just going to wait to call it in the ring. It seems like they're doing a lot of calling stuff in the ring, with some rumors going around that, like, when it comes to promos, they're just basically hand a guy a bike and shove him out the curtain. I just... I think that both angles are good, but, I don't know that we need the teased finishes or teased turns or whatever in both of them. I just thought that was kind of sloppy.
I think we're getting a heel turn from Adam Cole. And I think
have to.
I think he's joining the Kingdom. But the one question I have now is Cole going to win the belt as a heel? And are we going to have MJF do a chase? Like, how is this going to play out? There's a lot of different elements that you can go here. And I'm real excited. Does Tony Khan have the balls to have Adam Cole win at Wembley, give England that moment, and then have MJF win it back at All Out and almost do that quick of a switch?
I frankly think that, I laid this out last week, and I will stick to it. They have to have Adam Cole turn on MJF, preferably on the pre-show, to convince people to buy the show, because, then you'll have the big blow-off of the match up to that, or the feud up to that point with the actual match. I don't even know if I'd have any of the Aussie Open match. I think maybe just during entrances, have Adam Cole turn on him and just beat him down as the pre-show wraps up. But I think you definitely have to have MJF stay face.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued to see what plays out here, because there's a lot of really fun elements to look at. The best part is I have no idea what's going to happen. And I think that's when pro wrestling's at its best, when a story is being told and it could really go in a multitude of directions. And then when something happens, it genuinely feels like a surprise and not like you're just waiting for it. We think Adam Cole's going to turn. He might not. And I think that's where some of this intrigue is.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see which way they will go. But I think it's pretty clear what they should do.
Yeah, I think it's very clear what they should do. MJF is arguably the biggest and most over star in professional wrestling right now. And yeah, you could make cases for others, but I'm saying it's arguable that it's MJF, and you can't debate that. I really don't think you can. He is a face-leaning heel at this point. And when he actually turns, he's going to be a face with some heel tendencies because he's the fan scumbag, as he said it a couple weeks ago. This is going to be a really fun 10 days to kind of see how this ends up working out. I want to run through the All In card because we are running out of time here as we continue to talk about it. And quite frankly, we buried so much of the show. The show was just not good. And I think we need to talk about Hangman Page and that. Let's do that first, and then we'll run through the All-In card because that encompasses it. So obviously you have the Kenny Omega segment where he's sitting down with JR. Don Callis comes out. Takeshita comes out after Bullet Club Gold attacks Kenny Omega. And we know the history with Kenny Omega and Jay White. Jay White obviously took over as leader of the Bullet Club upon Kenny's leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Kenny denied coming to the Bullet Club initially at New Year's Dash in 2018 when Kenny presented him with a Bullet Club t-shirt. And then Jay just beat him for the U.S. title a month later at New Beginning. So they have a lot of history. Juice Robinson joins him and attacking Kenny. And then Hangman comes later in the show in front of an ambulance, which signify, hey, Kenny's at the hospital, saying, hey, you didn't finish the job. So it's going to be Kenny with two of his best friends and tag team partners ever against Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold in a 6-man tag, which three things. One, Hangman was drinking a beer in front of the hospital and he was told he couldn't do that, which I thought was a really nice touch because he's an anxious cowboy, and drinking a beer, a lot of people do that when they're anxious. Two, what do you think about this being a 6-man tag and Kenny Omega not having a singles match at Wembley? I think it's a mistake, but I also get it because trios matches are kind of AEW's thing. They've really built up a lot of great trios, and they don't necessarily use the trios belts that well right now, but they really tried to put them over. They have a lot of 6-man tags on television and on pay-per-views that do really, really well as far as star ratings. But you're not giving a brand new market on the biggest wrestling show of all time, a Kenny Omega singles match. I feel like that's a mistake.
I don't think it's really that big of a deal, given that, any singles match you would have would be, not be really close to the hottest match on the card. And so I think him being in this angle or this match, I think will be totally fine. It'll lead to him reuniting again with Kota Ibushi, who hopefully will have a better outing. And, I don't know. I think it's fine. I'm actually looking forward to the match, and I think it's totally okay for them to do this.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but I do think that you could do a better one. You could figure out a way to do a singles match, and I think it's disappointing. It's just disappointing that you're not giving this new crowd a singles match. But look, it's going to kick ass. It's going to be great. We know that. It feels like it was a missed opportunity. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, it's already one of the biggest shows in history. I don't know that you need to blow, like another massive match with Kenny Omega there. I think you could have maybe done a lower level singles match, but also they just blew off Blood and Guts in the BCC angle, which went on forever, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's an awful quick turnaround time. And, I think this is, reasonable. I think this is okay.
Okay, let's go through this card because then we got to talk about the build here. So right now, this is the confirmed card on the 0 hour. Aussie Open defends the ROH World Tag Team Championships against MJF and Adam Cole. Eddie Kingston, Lucha Brothers, and Best Friends versus the Blackpool Combat Club in 3 TBAs, which it'd be hilarious if one of them was Satoshi Kojima, in Stadium Stampede. Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay in the special singles. The Golden Elite, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Page versus Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson, Jay White, and Konosuke Takeshita. Darby Allin and Sting versus Swerve Strickland and AR Fox in a tag team coffin match, which Sting was awesome as Joker Sting with Prince Nana, like holding him hostage. That was a funny bit. I will say that was probably the best part of the show. FTR defending the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks in a historic, traditional women's 4-way title match. Hikaru Shida defends against Toni Storm, Saraya, and the TBD is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I will say that Excalibur did make note that the ring jacket worn by Britt Baker down to the ring was the same ring jacket that she wore at All In, which that's just what they should have said, not called this historic match. Look, the first ever women's match in company hit like canon, which would have been All In, was a 4-way. So we're going to do it here.
Yeah. Don't try to tell me that these forgotten matches are actually secretly really important or something.
If you want to call it an All-In tradition, you can do that. Just don't fuck with me and tell me it's an AEW tradition. It's not.
Yeah, I fully 100% agree.
There is, however, Fred, one match that is not confirmed yet, and that is CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. I'm guessing we'll get confirmation this Saturday on Collision. So that's the card. We're probably looking at one or two matches for the main show still to be announced, and probably 2 matches to be announced on the pre-show. And
now, did they say something about the Aussie Open match being the only match on the pre-show?
So far, that is the only match announced for the pre-show.
But I mean, like, I thought I heard something that kind of implied that would be the only match.
I have not, but
maybe I'm just tripping. But yeah, I hope that they don't do the talking heads bullshit for, I've already gone over this and how it's really sucks to not have a proper pre-show. Those past pre-shows were a great part of the experience of AEW, and I don't want them to drop all that so that they can have RJ City and Renee talk for ever. Like, I just don't want that, man.
Yeah, I totally get that. I get it completely, Fred. I'm intrigued to see how this card finishes up. But for all the annoyance and stuff, we have almost an entire full card earlier than normal. And that's not something that we've been used to with AEW. And I like the fact that this is where we're sitting. But WrestleTix last update, they had officially cleared 80,000. I'm going to pull up WrestleTix right now to see if we have another update, because that is it's very, very interesting to kind of see how this looks. Dynamite Rampage, WrestleMania pre-sale. They've already sold a lot of tickets. Good for them. All right. Last update was August 13th. I'm assuming we'll probably get one pretty soon. Of current setup, 84,048 tickets. 80,056 tickets have been distributed. Just under 4,000 are available. And it looks like pretty much every section has been opened on this show. So that's really cool. I think the only ones that haven't been open are the ones like directly behind the stage, because I don't see any dots.
Yeah.
But look, I think those may even get open, and they may just have to flatten out the stage just to try and get more people in the building, because it's going to be a special show.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a show, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Anything else about this company and how frustrating it is to watch this product right now before we move on and talk about something cool?
No, I think that's about it. As far as AEW this week, I did think Collision was a solid show, but honestly, I don't know that I need every episode of Collision end in like a 25-minute CM Punk match that's like 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah. I don't know if Punk doesn't have it anymore, but it's very frustrating to watch some of these long Punk matches. There's just something missing. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just needs to fully turn heel, but I'm very intrigued to kind of see what that's going to end up looking like. But let's talk about something special we have going on in Voices of Wrestling, Fred.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Wednesday the 16th, we started releasing our project, the VOW 30 Under 30. Now, if you remember, we buried ESPN's list of the best 30 wrestlers under the age of 30. So we decided we could do it better. 22 VOW contributors with varying wrestling preferences and knowledge bases combined together to create the most comprehensive best 30 under 30 list across all of wrestling media. And you've got people who are experts in Joshi, Impuro, Lucha, American television, British wrestling, you name it. There are people who have watched it all. And not one single person can have watched it all, which is what makes a compilation list of something like this very difficult. But when you have 22 people who have such varying levels of expertise across the world, I think it's going to end up being the best list out there. And there are going to be omissions because there's a lot of talented wrestlers out there, Fred. But I'm really excited to continue to see this project grow, and you and I both contributed.
Yeah, we did. We both had our top 30 ballots cast, and I don't know, it was just really hard to just come up with just 30 guys or 30 people really to include on this. I'm currently looking through who didn't make it for me, and it's it's a tough list.
The one glaring omission for me was Master Wato.
See, I couldn't fit him in, and I like him a lot, but I just couldn't find a spot for him. I think that, I've already seen some early, I can't believe that these people didn't make it, posts. And some of them are like, I can't believe you don't have Dominic Mysterio on there. And I'm like, I'm never going to. That's not a thing that's going to happen, man.
No.
But at least not for me, I can say. Now, Rhea Ripley got a lot of credit from me for her contributions and what I think is really the talent of that act. But yeah, I'm going through right now to see who I had on my ballot that didn't make it. And there's some, my number 7 pick didn't make it. It's just a tough list. I think, I've been trying to watch some DDT recently just to get a taste for that promotion because I haven't watched it before. And, if they hadn't have started posting this yesterday, I would have asked to possibly change my ballot to include Mao. I think he's really great and a future top, high level star. But looking at my ballot now, I don't know who I would have put him in over. It's just that jam-packed full of people.
Yeah, this was an incredibly hard list to do, and we are going to talk extensively about our lists next week because we want to give everybody the whole list a chance to release first before we end up doing that. And I'm really excited to see how some of these guys end up shaking out because there is a lot of really good talent. But like I said, I did not have some Joshi wrestlers that I know a lot of people had. I didn't have Azumi. I didn't have Starlight Kid. I did have Julia and Hayashi Shida on there because I think their work is just phenomenal. And it also amazes me how young some of these Joshi wrestlers are, Fred.
Oh yeah,
because like Riho has been wrestling for 12 years and she's 28 years old,
something like that. Yeah,
like that. Like some of these women they get such a young start, and it's just different from what we are used to in American culture, because like people would be like, Billy Stark shouldn't be going to these shows because she was like 15, 16. Well, I will say I didn't have an issue with it. Her dad took her to these shows. Her dad was with her the whole time. And to me, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. It's just a different kind of culture, which ends up having some of these women be like 21 years old and they're like prodigies, like, but they're farther along than like prodigy Nick Wayne. Yeah. It ends up being something pretty incredible. And I'm intrigued to see how this list ends up shaking out, because there are so many diverse voices contributing, which is better than anything else anybody has produced, because there's so many of like high-end wrestling media. They're so WWE brained, and they don't have enough knowledge of other promotions because other promotions don't bring in money.
Yeah. And like, you know, it's hard to keep up on everything. I try to watch as much as I can. I have nearly 800 matches ranked this year. And there's guys on this list. I mean, I had to do just a couple of outright reputational votes. People that I haven't actually watched work, but based off their success and what everyone's saying, I felt like I could not leave them off my list. Mascara Dorada 2.0 being, you know, a good example of that. I just haven't been able to get to CMLL yet. I don't know if I will. There's so much freaking wrestling to watch, you know, if you're trying to keep up with stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's objectively good. And we're going to see how this kind of all shakes up. That's going to do it for our show today. We are going to talk more about that next week, including next week, a full preview of All In, the biggest wrestling show of all time. I don't know if you've heard that enough on AEW television, so we're going to say it. And make sure that you continue to like, subscribe, follow us. You can follow me on social media at The Real Forno. You can follow both of us at Blue Sky, myself at The Real Forno, and Fred at Flagrant Stats. Make sure you subscribe to Fred's Patreon in the show notes, and also my Vikings-centric YouTube channels. I am the managing editor of USA Today's Vikings Wire and host my own show, The Real Forno Show, every Monday and Wednesday night. You can also follow us and talk to us in the VOW Discord, which is a really fun place, and we have some good conversations with some of our listeners there, and we want to continue to grow that space. And if you love us so much that you just feel like we deserve money, there is a link in the show notes to donate to the show as well. Thank you very much for listening. Please go and subscribe to our solo feed, The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee, and we're going to continue to bring you the best AEW discussion out there in the world of America in our own fun, chaotic style, because we have a show format and we rip it up every single week. We just have a lot of fun talking. That being said, I'm Tyler. That's Fred. Women are our favorite guys.
Take care, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the co-hosts of Jumping Bomb Audio, the podcast all about Joshi Pro Wrestling here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Every other Monday, we are with you talking about the biggest news in Joshi, along with show reviews, previews, and much, much more.
So if you're new to Joshi or you've been a longtime fan, this is the show for you. We've got something for everyone here. So check us out, Jumping Bomb Audio.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.